I ride with more than 85% of my right shoulder covered with multiple titanium plates, screws, and bolts. An accident at 14,000 feet didn't stop me to pursue my passion of motorcycling. I was being told by the doctors that it will going to take me at least 9 months to an year to be back on roads. But I got back to motorcycle in just 26 days. Was it a miracle? No. It was something I was getting prepared for since my childhood. I was born in Lucknow in an orthodox middle class family where my father used to work with railways and was largely on tours. And my mother used to work as a government school teacher. Let me share something with you for the first time. And this is something which I've never shared it so far. At the tender age of 4, yes, at the tender age of 4, I'd faced childhood adversity in the form of sexual abuse done by a neighborhood man who was similar to the age of my father. I was being threatened and scared. I had no one to turn to. The abuse continued for 3 years. Sorry. I started to find out ways to vent my anger and pain and decided to try extracurricular activities in the school. But it wasn't helping me at all. None of us, especially the children, should go something like this in their life ever. Accidentally, my friend introduced me to cycling. It was liberating. I was in love with it. There was an upcoming cycle race competition which was happening in the school. I enrolled myself randomly. I worked very hard for it. And I came first. First, for the very first time in my life. And that was a confident booster for me. The moment, it cannot be explained here. After that, I started to participate in various city, district, and state level cycling championships, winning lots, losing some. But with all this, my personality was shaping up. From an underconfident, low-esteem girl, I was becoming a confident girl. So when I look back at the moment, I realize that there is always something unique in all of us. If you want it badly enough, it just comes to you. In my case, it was wheels. Moving on further, I remember when I was in my 8th standard, there was a situation at home. My mom was severely ill at that point of time, and we had to rush her to the hospital. My father was on tour. I went to my neighbors and asked for help. Now, asking for a help was something as a child was very difficult for me, even till date. But I did that. Mom became fine, she came back. But as a daughter, I felt helpless. I realized if I would have been self-independent, I would have taken my mom to the hospital. So that necessity forced me to break the stereotypes. When my father returned from the tour, I asked him to teach me how to ride his scooter, Bajaj Chetak, which was lying unused and dusted in the garage. It was not easy to convince him, staying in a city like Lucknow, but I had to. He got convinced, and I learned scooter. I was in my 8th standard, around the age of 13 or 14. I felt happy as a child. There were a lot of multiple falls, wounds here and there. That's fine. That makes you tough, isn't it? Later, whenever there was an emergency at home, I was able to take my mom to the doctor and to the hospital later on. So we must understand that sometimes in life pushes you to learn new skills. Take it as an opportunity and grab them. Later, we shifted from Lucknow to Delhi. While Lucknow was an orthodox city, Delhi was an unsafe one, especially the public transportation and the streets. I thought of toughening myself more. I learned martial arts, got a blue belt in that, and boxing. And eventually, I got a degree in Kathak because my mom really wanted me to do that. So that's something else. But coming back to motorcycles, it has always been the fascination. While I did all this, I had completed my graduation, NCC, and was selected in CDS, Combined Defense Services. But I was not allowed by my family. So ended up doing an MBA from Delhi. Motorcycles. Whenever I hear of this word, whenever I hear the thump of an engine, it just skips my heart. It's a fascination. It's a heartbeat for me. I started to borrow bikes from my friends here and there and got my hands onto it. But I come from a middle class family. I didn't have money to buy it. I worked very hard for it. I started doing part-time jobs. After my 12th standard, I worked in McDonald's, worked in NIT as a counselor, and gave tuitions. So basically, whatever skills I had, I monetized it and earned an amount of 55,000, which was sufficient enough to buy me a first second-hand bike, which was Pulsar 180cc. If anybody who's into motorcycling would know it. So that's how my journey started from motorcycling. I started with group rides and then moved into solo motorcycling. I explored from North India, moving to East India, and eventually covered 22 states so far. Thank you. Some of my memorable bike trips are from Leh, Ladakh, and Spiti. I've done Ladakh twice on my bike, which was my second bike eventually. What I enjoy the most in the riding path is crossing through the countryside, riding across the mountains, meeting the locals, because it gives a sense of calmness, freedom, and empowerment. So riding, for me, is all about passion, thrill, adventure, chasing the sunsets, making the memorable memories. But sometimes, adventure comes in the package. My thirst of adventure took me to Spiti Valley in June 2019. Things were going on beautiful. One of the best trains across the world. On the 10th day of my 12-day ride, when I was just about to reach my last destination, which was Kunzam Pass, I had a crash. A crash in which my entire collarbone got crushed. I had multiple dislocations, and one of the bone fragment got stuck into my thoracic region. And I was in a place where there was no medical facilities, no medical backup, at 14,000 feet. The nearest government hospital was at Kaza, which was around 70 to 75 kilometers, but it was unequipped to handle my injury. There was no airlift available due to bad weather conditions. The nearest decent hospital was in Chandigarh, which was 48 hours away, but for me, it took much, much longer. due to landslides, due to off-roads, basically no roads, and and the vehicle which I was in was moving at a speed of 10 to 15 kilometer because we cannot speed up. I didn't even have a sling to support my arm at that point of time. And I was vomiting. I was pale. There was a fragment of bone piece which was stuck. I was unable to breathe. It was a life-threatening situation for me. So when I reached Chandigarh on the fourth day, the doctor there was not sure enough to handle my complicated case. I didn't find that confidence coming from the doctor. I flew down to Bangalore. I got operated only on the sixth day by Dr. Hemant Kalyan, forever thankful to him. Just imagine, with all these injuries I traveled across, and the operation happened only on the sixth day. And when I was going in the operation theater, I legit gave a smile to my mom and assuring her, like, things will be fine. And when I opened my eyes after my surgery, and I was still under the anesthesia effect, I asked my doctor the first question, how soon can I get back to bike? And I remember, he just smiled. Post-surgery, I got to know that I have more than 85% of my right shoulder covered with multiple titanium plates, screws, and balls. And it will going to take me at least 9 months to an year with the kind of physical structure I have to be back on a bike. After getting discharged on the fourth day, it was not easy at all. But I knew I had to. I don't know why, but that day, I pushed myself to go to the gym. It was my personally first step towards recovery. I tried riding a light bike, of like 150cc on the 10th day, but I couldn't even straighten up the handlebar. That moment gave me a shock that you won't be able to come back to bike again, because there were a lot of negativity coming in. My mom taking the bike keys from me is like, forget it, you just don't have to ride anymore. But at that moment, when I was getting weak, I thought about that little girl who was 4 years old and how she never gave up and how she fought the adversity when she didn't even know the meaning of an adversity. I gathered all the courage and I started to give not just my 100%, but more than 500%, because I believe it's all here. It's all here. It's the mind game. I didn't give up. I was consistent and persistent on my efforts. I worked very hard for it, really. On the 26th day, I was able to ride a 200cc bike, Duke 200, for a few kilometers. Moving on further, I kept on increasing the cc of the bike and later the distance of the bike. After doing small city rides for 2 months, I started with full-fledged solo rides, starting from 400 kilometers to 700 kilometers per day. Thank you. So here, in fact, I didn't look back after that. By the end of 6 months, I repeat, by the end of 6 months, I was riding a 1200cc custom Harley Davidson across Goa, which weighed 268 kgs with this shoulder. I had two options then. I would have listened to the world, lied on the bed, and leave everything. Did I do that? No. I was also covered in the newspapers extensively across India. Let's look into the adversities we all have gone through in our lives. And I'm sure these adversities has given us huge learnings and has made you a better version of yourselves, isn't it? If you just recall the adversities which you have gone through, we all have learned so much out of it. All these years, I have trained myself mentally to fight challenges, not just in biking, but also in the field of entrepreneurship and relationships. So, here are my favorite resilience building techniques. Number one, fear no failure. Very important. It's okay to fail. Every failure and every challenge has the power to teach you, which nobody can do in the world. Number two, never ever give up, no matter what. I believe never ever give up, no matter what. I work on myself every single day without a fail. Number three, give back wherever you can. I have worked extensively across the NGOs, and whatever experiences I had shared with people and helped them. It's very important to help people as you move further in life because you don't know you're healing yourself while helping them. Next, have gratitude. Have gratitude towards that Almighty because that Almighty has the strength to make you strong. Set yourself achievable goals. Have high goals, but let's be practical. Break your goals. While I was coming down the 6th day and the 26 days, I break all the goals. Like, I don't have to cry here. I have to be patient. There is no medication. I have to just keep calm. All these things. Build your self-confidence. Nobody is born confident. Confidence comes when you start achieving small goals on daily basis. With the smallest change in your behavior and by believing in the potential you have, you are becoming a confident person. Last but not least, never let the ordeals, the adversities, society, physical inabilities diminish your passion. You know why? Because if one needs improvement, the only person who can help to improve you is you. What's now? I work for campaigns related to road safety awareness. Though I'm no one, though I'm no one, but I still try my level best to help people to fight anxiety, depression, and PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I work for sexually abused kids, street children, and rape victims. I have recently started my own NGO by the name of Pooja Bajaj Foundation, where we largely work for women and children. I'm also a sports fitness entrepreneur. But what I really enjoy the most is going on long solo rides. On my new bike, which I've recently bought it, which is a BMW one, that we all live once. We all live once. Let's juice up the every drop of life and make the most of it. Because you know why? Accidents can happen, but some accidents are so powerful that they end up transforming you into a person you never thought of. These accidents are blessings in disguise. Embrace them, love them. So before I leave this stage, I just want to quote something for you all. And this is something which I keep on saying to myself every single day. ए दोस्त, ए दोस्त तेरे अंदर का योद्धा, ए दोस्त तेरे अंदर का योद्धा तब दिखेगा जब वक्त तेरे आगे मुसीबतें खड़े करेगा. Thank you.